If you've started drifting or you want to get into it, the very first thing to keep in mind is that you will be probably broke. If it's not happening now, it's going to happen in the future because drifting is a very expensive motorsport. Regardless on which way you want to swing it, it is just like running at the track. You are going to burn through so much shit, you have no idea how much money you're about to be spending. But there are some key tips and tricks that can keep you from overtly spending too much money, which by the way, I'm Alex Martini with 2 underscores on Instagram. I'm over here on Torque Motorsport where we're learning about how to get into the wonderful world of drifting and to teach you guys about what's coming up with Torque Drift 2, our upcoming video game that is based off of the success of Torque Drift 1, except instead of it just being on your phone, this one is gonna be all over. You're gonna be able to play it on sim rigs, you're gonna be able to play it on your computer, it's gonna be wicked. And if you're watching this, we do have the newest release of what the game will look like called Garage 0.3. It's an upcoming release with a whole bunch of goodies, so you wanna keep your eyes peeled on what that looks like, because if you've been a Torque Drift 1 fan, you are absolutely going to love what Torque Drift 2 is about to offer. Now, getting into how to save some money for the good old drift days, the number one thing to keep in mind is that you are going to burn more tires than anything else. I am looking in my garage right now and I have more tires than I care to admit. One might say I have a problem. Now, I run Nexen SU1s for my drift tire of choice. Now, there's a lot of people out there that do love Achilles and other brands like that. We personally run the Nexen SU1s on the GR86 as well. And what I can say to keep the longevity of those tires as much as possible is to not just run them until they blow up. Tires can go through what's called heat cycling. And a lot of times when you're running around and drifting the rear tires, they get warm very, very fast. And if you get them overheated, or if you start just ripping on them more and more and more without letting them cool off, a lot of times the rubber that's on the tire can dissipate much faster than it would normally if you let the tires cool down and then go back out onto the track later. So tip number one is let your tires cool down. A lot of times people will go out for 5 or 6 laps and then they'll go back into the pits, cool the tires down with some water, kind of just watch the event, relax a little bit, and then go back out there for another 5 or 6. If you go through just consistently and you're just going round and round and round, a lot of times you are going to shorten the lifespan of what those drift tires could be. We've noticed it, and it's a really great way to save a little bit of cash. Another thing to keep in mind is when you're building your car, a lot of times people just want to buy the stuff right away. Makes sense. You want to build the car immediately. You want to brag to all the homies out there on the internet, but a lot of times I can tell you that it's not worth it. A lot of these manufacturers and brands have discounts, and certain places like torquemotorsport.io where you can actually shop for parts now. If you have certain ways to get in there, there's things that you can do to get discounts on parts. Sometimes brands will be running deals towards the end of the year, typically like Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Tax return time in March is another really great time to buy. In the middle of summer though, there usually aren't that many deals. A lot of the times you're paying full retail for whatever it is that you're looking to buy. Now, something that's kind of cool over at Torque Motorsport is that when you get into the side of things in terms of collecting digital collectibles, which will be a part of Torque Drift 2, when you do get one of those things, whether that's for a Koenig wheel or for a Nexen tire, it'll actually automatically give you a discount that you can then use to buy a physical real world part through their categories pages over on torquemotorsport.io, which I think is also pretty cool because an extra 5 or 10% off can make a really big difference if you're spending $1,500 to $2,000 on a set of wheels. But whatever you do, it's like my mom always said, never pay full price for anything. You're not gonna wanna do that because you're gonna burn through your budget even faster. And lastly, before you go into trying to modify and build like the perfect drift car, understand that there is some beauty in the ugliness of a drift car. You don't have to make everything perfect, but you should also treat it with respect. I've seen a lot of people go into drifting and they want to get the best tires, the best wheels, the best setup, the most horsepower, the name brand parts through and through. And a lot of times when you get into drifting, when you do that sort of thing, everything ends up costing more because the replacement of those name brand parts are more expensive. The replacement of the name brand tires or wheels or going with something that's 2-piece or 3-piece versus just getting some flow formed or even cast wheels is going to cost more. A lot of times there is this environment around drifting where you get to brag about either what parts you have or what kit you have on your car. And while that is really cool to do, a lot of times that comes with 2 or 3 extra decimal points in terms of how much things could cost. I try to go the other way. If you can go cheaper, go cheaper. Really try to just get as much seat time as you can, because at the end of the day, it's like Chris Forsberg, Mike Power, it's like what all the prospect drivers we talk to, Adam Knapik, you talk to Amanda Sorensen, when we talk to all of those guys and gals, even when we talk to people that are in our backyard. We've got people like Corey Talaska, they'll always tell you that seat time is more important than pretty much anything else. So get a good seat, get yourself a drift button or an inline hydro if you can, and get yourself what you need to actually run around a track, like a helmet, and you're pretty much good to go. Save all the extra cash for when the car breaks, and pretty much it's okay if it looks kind of stockish. Nobody really gives a shit. What they do care about is you getting out there and enjoying your car. So those are just some quick tips and tricks that can help you keep your drifting, I don't know, hobby going a little bit longer. And while my two cats are running around this garage like Battle Royale, drop a comment below on what you think is one of the best tips that you've received from either a mentor or a coach in the motorsport industry that helped you keep your passion alive without spending as much money as you think you should. I'm Alex Martini with 200 scores on Instagram. We hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you later. Adios.